Brown butter double chocolate chip cookies are an absolute bakery style classic. They're super easy to make. That flavor combination is absolutely incredible. You've got that gorgeous crunchy exterior, but that lovely, almost melt in your mouth interior. These cookies could not be more perfect if we tried. And so on that note, today I'm going to show you how to make them. As you can see in front of me, we've got our ingredients, starting off with our caster sugar and light brown sugar. Then we've got plain flour, gorgeous brown butter. This looks absolutely perfect. It's like golden sunshine and it smells absolutely incredible. Then we've got golden syrup, bicarbonate of soda, and 2 medium eggs. There's a few more ingredients like chocolate, but I'm keeping those in the fridge today because here in the UK, we're in the middle of a very hot heat wave. So we're gonna start off with a large mixing bowl. We're gonna be doing all the steps today by hand rather than using an electric mixer. And I'm gonna take my pre-made and cooled brown butter. So when you make brown butter, you do wanna leave it to cool for about 15 minutes until you can touch the bowl and it's not piping hot. Just because if you were to add it into the bowl while it's still boiling and then mix it with your sugar, it's going to become really oily and greasy, and that will also consequently make the dough really greasy as well. So we want to avoid that as best we can. I am going to be posting a separate tutorial on how to make brown butter, so stay tuned for that. We're going to pour our brown butter into our large mixing bowl, followed by our caster sugar and brown butter. We've got this combo today because both sugars actually have different roles. The caster sugar helps spread these cookies out somewhat so that we've got that gorgeous circular shape, but the brown sugar also helps them from spreading too far and then becoming one giant cookie. And it also helps us create a gorgeous, soft, chewy cookie to prevent biting into one of these cookies and it literally being rock hard. We don't want that. Once those are both in there, we're going to go in with a little bit of vanilla extract, just a teaspoon, and then we're going to take a hand balloon whisk and just mix all the ingredients together until fully combined. If it does still look a little bit oily, that's okay, as long as it's not completely oily. It's not the end of the world if it is, because adding our flour will fix that, but we just want to make sure our brown butter is cool to prevent that as much as we can. We're going to be left with something that looks like this. It already smells absolutely incredible. What we're going to add in there now is 1 whole medium egg and also 1 egg yolk. Both these eggs need to be at room temperature for these cookies. And you might be wondering, why do we add an egg yolk as well as a regular egg? And that is a very good question. And the reason that we do that is to actually give these cookies extra moistness, make them really soft and fudgy in the center, and just create that perfect texture that we're looking for with these cookies. The sort of like crunchy exterior with that gooey center. So we're going to add those in and then mix again until fully combined. Next up, we've got our plain flour. The amount of flour that we add into our cookies is actually very important for the final result. So if we were to add too little flour to our cookies, they wouldn't have enough structure and they'd spread all into one giant cookie. And then if we add too much flour, they then hold their shape too much, and then when they bake, they just stay in like a solid ball and they become very sort of dry and tough and dense. So getting that flour combination right is really, really important. We've got a middle ground quantity today of 210 grams of plain flour, which we're going to pour into our mixing bowl, followed by half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, which is just going to help them on their way to give us that really nice spread that we're looking for. And then we're also just going to add in 1 teaspoon of golden syrup just to add to the flavor and also give us a little bit more chewiness. We're going to ditch the balloon whisk and switch over to a spatula and fold the ingredients through until we get a gorgeous looking cookie dough. It's not the kind of cookie dough that's solid enough to form an actual ball. It's going to be sort of wet cookie dough. That's absolutely fine because we're going to chill that later on. We've now got our gorgeous cookie dough. It smells absolutely heavenly, and I'm just going to set this aside temporarily while we move on to getting our mix-ins ready. So I'm just taking a chopping board right now, and yes, for some reason it's a fish chopping board, but I've only ever used it for chocolate. So to me, it's like my chocolate chopping board. Today we've got 100 grams of dark chocolate and 100 grams of milk chocolate, and I'm just going to chop them up into pieces. I would say sort of like small to medium pieces. And the reason that we're not using chocolate chips today is because for these cookies, if we add actual chopped up chocolate, it's going to give us gorgeous like melty pools of chocolate rather than having like chocolate chips which keep their shape all the time. So for these, you could just bite into a gorgeous like melted puddle of chocolate. It's absolutely amazing. And also adding chopped chocolate also helps the cookies spread a little bit more rather than adding chocolate chips, which always usually helps them hold their shape. Once I've chopped both of the chocolate bars up, I'm going to add them into the cookie dough and then mix them in until they're evenly distributed. So now that we've got our completed dough, it's time to chill it. And chilling the dough basically just ensures that when you bake it, it doesn't spread too far and still holds that like integral shape and structure that we're looking for. I'm going to put mine in the freezer today for half an hour, but if you want to use the fridge, then chill it in there for 1 hour. And then while that's chilling, we're going to preheat our oven to 180 degrees for a fan oven or 200 for a conventional oven. And then once they finish chilling, we're going to line 2 baking trays with parchment paper, retrieve a cookie scoop or a tablespoon, and then scoop the dough into 8 balls, adding 4 cookie dough balls per tray, and then sort of putting them in like a diagonal shape so that when they bake, they don't sort of like bump into each other and then mold together. And then once all of the cookie dough is on our baking trays, we're going to add our cookies into the oven 1 tray at a time for 10 to 12 minutes. You'll know they're done when the edges are a light golden brown color, and then take them out at that point. Start checking them from 10 minutes, and then if they need a few more minutes, then add them in for 2 more. It's also important to remember that every oven runs at different temperatures, so the cookies might take longer or less time to cook depending on how hot your oven runs. I always like to bake my cookies in the center of the oven on the middle rack for even baking. One more thing to remember about baking cookies is they continue to bake when they come out the oven. So if they're starting to look done, but you're thinking, oh, maybe they might need 1 more minute, just take them out and have a look out of the oven, because they will continue baking out of there. And we also still want them to be somewhat soft in the center, otherwise they would become too crunchy and firm once they've cooled. So I'll come back once mine are baked. As soon as your cookies are baked and out of the oven, if they're not perfectly circular, you can take a large circular cookie cutter and just gently press the edges of all the cookies until you get a perfect circular shape. Then once they're all baked and out of the oven, you want to leave them to cool for about 15 to 20 minutes on the trays. Otherwise, if you take them off too soon, they can actually just fall apart and just break all over the place. We want to avoid that as best we can and have gorgeous sturdy cookies. And then once they're sufficiently cool, if you would like, you can sprinkle on some flaky sea salt, and then that's it. They're ready to enjoy straight away, or you can let them fully cool if you prefer that too. These cookies will last for about 5 days in an airtight container, and you can also freeze them. That is how to make brown butter double chocolate chip cookies. These are absolutely incredible. They smell so heavenly. They look gorgeous. Those melty pools of chocolate are just divine. We've got a crunchy edge and a fudgy interior as we were hoping for. They just look so perfect. I know you guys are gonna absolutely love them as soon as you can give them a try. And these are ones to try very quickly. You will make them once and just fall in love. On that note, I hope you enjoyed coming along with me to learn how to make these today. If you did enjoy the video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, be sure to let me know in the comments if you have any other baking suggestions for me. I would love to know what you would like me to make. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next week for a new video.